since my last video, and to be completely honest, I have had footage for a while, but just hadn't had time to edit it all. But here we are, brand new day, brand new video. Today, we're actually going to go back to our roots, and I'm dishing out a Speedpaint. A lot of Clip Studio Paint users know that there are models that can be used when making art, and thankfully for those that suck at anatomy, this helps a bunch. The cool thing about all these designs is that I made all the body types different, more based on the people that they're designed from. I had to really think of how I was going to go about the body types because the other two designs are based on my sisters. I really like using these models for my designs because of how much I can detail them. Like the height, for example, we're all about the same height, but like centimeters apart. And I can't forget about the figure shapes. They have more up top than I do, so I have to make sure that I accommodate that. Here I was messing around with some brushes. I haven't used this application in a while. I wanted to see what would work and what wouldn't. Starting from the left, this one is my design. Remember when I mentioned that there was a distinct difference between Artist Alpha and Canon Alpha? Redesigns will make that a lot easier to notice, and I wanted to use this as a new design, kind of like rebranding. While thinking up the idea of Chibi Chaos, I used ChatGPT to give me some designs. Using my previous alpha designs, it gave me some new ones to use and give it kind of an update. This design is the one that I based my new design heavily on. The main things that go into my Artist Alpha design is her headphones, her Letterman, and weirdly enough, her shoes. Those have been the biggest differences when it comes to Canon versus Artist. With Canon, she doesn't have her headphones, her Letterman is a vest, and her sneakers are switched for armored boots. I mainly use the design for the hoodie and her Letterman. I forgot to add the AK symbol on the front of the both, and I can fix that later. I had wanted to put shoes on her, but the main reason for these designs was for my Chibi Chaos series, so I decided to do those later. The next design is going to be one of my older sisters. Her name is Lavella, and she is the character reference for Kitami Abe from the Kids of Abe video I made a few years ago. She was the cat pirate. Her hair was one of the biggest issues. I experimented with different brushes, but this one was the one that turned out to be the best. It gave the afro vibes that I was looking for. For her outfit, it was super simple. The image that I gave ChatGPT was of her pirate form, so it gave her ears and whiskers. At first, I wanted to make the sleeves go over her hands like number 2 from Kids Next Door, but with all of the expressions that I planned to draw, I didn't want them to get in the way too much, so I moved the top of the hoodie up and made puffy sleeves instead. I have some weird obsession with sleeves on hands. It's cute, okay? As I mentioned before, the other two designs have more up top than mine, so I had to readjust her bust so I could make them more perky and I could add in cleavage later. I didn't want her eyes to match mine too much, so I changed the shape of her iris and squished it a bit. I redid her afro as well. I wanted to see if I could add some depth, but that would have to wait for coloring. Personally, my favorite part because they add something more to her face. I have a weakness for rounded glasses. They are so cute, especially when they hang low on faces. I love it. Lastly, her thigh eyes. I wanted to add little ribbons on the side for more detail, and she's done. Lastly is Faith. She is another of my sisters and is the reference for Emiko, the second eldest of the prophecies. When it comes to her design, Faith is one of the calmer siblings in that category next to one of my younger brothers. So I wanted to give her more of a sleeker eye shape. The first and biggest problem I ran into was with her hair. The original reference that ChatGPT gave me had depicted braids for her hair, and I had tried to use several different brushes, and I downloaded a bunch of them to try, but they weren't giving me the effect that I wanted. So I opted to go with a single braid instead of a head full of them, taking reference from this Azor drawing that I did, and used one of the brushes to give her a braid with some simple bangs. I'm going to kill myself every time I have to draw this, but the detail is nice. The second thing that pissed me off was that the outfit from the reference was not working, so I opted for something else and some simple socks. For the tie of her braid, she asked me to do a book charm because she's a bookworm and I find it adorable. Once I finished the bigger designs, I started doing the chibi designs. The designs are mostly the same, and the only difference would be with the outfits. For my design, I mostly moved all of the assets over from the bigger design and adjusted them. The letterman was a bit difficult because of the smaller design. I had to adjust the sleeve, but it wasn't too hard. Lavella's chibi design was pretty simple too. I tried to make sure that the body shape matched. I moved everything else over and adjusted them. The jacket was difficult on her as well, but it was just a matter of moving the end parts and adjusting the sleeves accordingly. Finally, Faith's design. Hers wasn't very hard body-wise, just made sure to copy the proportions. Her braid was hard to copy because I made it so long, so I adjusted the length so it still seemed long. Once again, the jacket was a problem, but nothing Control-T can't fix. Once I was done with the sketches, at this point I didn't feel like doing line art, so I went straight to my favorite part, coloring. The basic things like skin and hair were minorly adjusted for Faith. I kept them the same. I had a hard time figuring out what colors I wanted to use when it came to emphasizing her dress. Lavella encouraged me to put a pattern on the dress skirt, something with flowers. So I went with a rose pattern and made the skirt of the dress darker and added a flower pattern. I messed around with the shades of pink for a minute, but I settled on making the cardigan and socks different. For the iris design, I did it a different way than the design you see on the color palette. I tried to make the designs different for each of the girls, and I think I did a pretty good job. Following that, I added skin detail and then moved on to coloring the chibi the same way. The hair is my favorite thing to shade. Giving it depth makes it so pretty, and I love adding the highlights at the top. Once I was finished, I made sure to do the same for the chibi hair and skin detail. I'm not always going to be accurate, but I can definitely try. I had to make sure that I did the iris presentation. I really like doing these because it gives me a clear look at how I did it and I don't have to guess. On to Lavella. Before I started, I wanted to make sure that I separated the jacket from her one piece so I would be able to have a clear look at the piece underneath in case I wanted to reference it later. She had actually been in the room when I was coloring this and commented that she was too pale, and she was right, so I adjusted it a few times to make sure that it was not only to my liking but to her liking as well. For her outfit, I started with the collar. I wanted to make sure the ball was like a bead or a pearl. For the one piece, I had thought to make the jacket light color and then the one piece underneath a darker color. For her iris design, I wanted to make it a slit like a cat, but these were supposed to be more human then fire variant, so I made the iris kind of slim but still rounded. Before starting on the jacket, I went ahead and did the skin detail just to get it out of the way. For her jacket, I found a cat pattern, but I wanted to do just one, and then I outlined it. With that, I decided to add in a few paws around it, kind of hinting that they cross over each other on the other sides. I redrew it a few times because I had put it on the same layer as the jacket sketch. After that, I made the print a vibrant blue. This is an example of me not paying attention to how I do things. I had to deconstruct the eye to get the right colors to add to the palette, and then I made sure to add them onto the design. Since I made her iris slanted a bit, it was hard to adjust the shaping. I made sure to add to the palette and document the colors correctly so I don't get lost. Once finished, I did the same thing for the chibi design. Because she had so much extra stuff I had added on to her. For example, the print on her jacket and on the back has a certain pattern that I got from Speedpaint, and I had to transfer it from device to device so I could use it properly. Like the others, I had to go through and erase the body parts that were covered by clothes. Like I did for Lavella, I made the jacket separate so I can reference it when I want to draw without it. The headphones are redesigned as well. I haven't drawn them in a while, so I just made them completely different to start over. When it came to her iris shape, I wanted her to be more innocent-eyed, rounder, so I made it bigger and more circle than the other two. For the jacket, I had started doing it how I used to, but thinking back, I never really liked the dark purple on it, so I changed the effect I was using to make it less midnight purple. I somehow always forget to do the buttons and the pockets, but I got them in because I was looking at the reference and remembered it, so go me. Also on the jacket, I did the skin detail, and lastly, we move on to the chibi color. I like the new designs. I made the prints on her Letterman less complicated, and I'm just going to use it for Artist Alpha and redesign Canon Alpha later on. I had accidentally forgotten to put the AK symbol on her jacket and her hoodie, but I put them on it later at the end. Since the designs are finished, I have begun my work on the first episode of Chibi Chaos, starting with Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. I have to finish the thumbnail and work on the chibis, but I'm super duper excited. Alright, that's it for today. If you enjoyed the designs, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps out the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to tap the bell so you don't miss out what's coming next. I've got some fire content on the way, and you don't want to miss it. Drop a comment below. I'm always in the replies, and I love hearing your thoughts. Tell me which design is your favorite. Thanks for watching, stay awesome, and I'll see you on our next siege. Bye-bye!